Welcome back to Half Bloom. I'm your host, Nadia, and we are here for our first episode of the series. I am sitting here on the sofa at Nadia Coffee House where it all began before we moved to a new location in a couple weeks. This place was supposed to be the beginning of everything I dreamed of. My business, my identity, my aspirations, and my future included. And in some ways it was. But very soon after I started this coffee shop, I realized that this was the exact place I was starting to lose myself. Before we go deeper, I wanted to introduce the coffee that I have today. This is actually a blend of a Brazil and a Pacamara. This is actually a blend that we created on a whim, so it's not like an official blend or anything. I had been keeping it stuffed in the corner of the refrigerator for a very long time, and I've kind of pulled it out today to test it out. And yeah, the taste and flavors are kind of gone, and it's not as good as it was like a month ago almost that we had it. But it still gives me that fruity aspects that kind of wake me up in the late afternoon where I am actually filming right now. And I did make this earlier in the day, so the ice is all pretty much melted, but I wanted to continue drinking this cup to kind of remind me of how I came along this journey here at this cafe as well. In the very beginning, I thought I had to be bright and bold and vibrant like this cup of coffee was in the very beginning. But after some time, yes, you still have that boldness within you, but you also kind of lose track of where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be in the process. I always thought I had to be this bold version of me, this girl boss, for the longest time ever. And I kind of associated that as my image, and I don't think I've lost it completely, but I think I am trying to say okay to the more soft versions of me that I've tried to cover up and ignore in the process of building a business, not only to others and online, but also to myself as well. More and more, I'm realizing that observation and learning and failing in the process and trying to laugh within those tiny little moments is really important. And because I think it's also just the tone of my voice and the way I present myself to others. People see me as this very confident girl, but the more you get to know me, the more you look at my actions, the way I move around, the more you'll realize that I'm actually a very curious person. I have these weird movements and I'm clumsy and things like that. And so trying to incorporate all those different kinds of aspects of yourself, aspects of me, is something that I've been working on as well, because we tend to ignore the unconscious versions of ourselves and try to push forward with the conscious ones, the things that we believe is right, that we should showcase to the world, that we should have other people view us as. But in return, we forget that the other parts of us is what makes us whole. And that's where you can actually find creativity, you can find strengths within yourself as well. So that's where I'm at right now with this cafe. And so going deeper into this dream that I had, I guess I wanted to start with talking about how it's transitioned and how I am also transitioning from this cafe. I know it's pretty big news and I haven't really put it online anywhere, so this podcast is actually the first time I'm talking about it. I had created this Nadia Coffee House brand in dreams that this image of me, this brand of me, like I would be able to like do so much stuff with this. And I thought I was capable of doing anything in the world possible. And yeah, you could be. Yeah, it might be. But in the process, I realized that one, I was not ready for a lot of the things that I wanted to do. I still needed to obtain different skills. I needed to build connections. I needed to make myself a stronger person. And in many different ways, I wasn't ready for that. And number two, I realized that my happiness does not necessarily always need to be in making money and growing a business. Of course, my initial plan was to build a community, have a space where people could come in and enjoy a cup of coffee, enjoy the presence of other people, have conversations. And I think I was kind of using coffee as a tool for that. And I think I was confused on selling a product, selling coffee, selling services, and also building this dream that I had of, community building. And I think in the process, I kind of got burnt out. I was very confused on what I wanted to do. And a lot of the beginnings of this cafe started from just the flow. Like my Instagram was doing really well. I was getting a lot of business opportunities, and that's why I needed to find a place to set up for regulation reasons, especially with like because coffee is a food thing, right? And so I had to quickly find a space, and that's why I landed here. I wanted to just do a lot of different things with this place, but it didn't really work out because I felt a huge burden from the very start of having to run even a cafe. And I underestimated the amount of work and effort and knowledge that is required of you to run a place, even if it means having a consistent revenue. Increasing that revenue over time is especially more difficult. And one other reason I think why it's so difficult here in Korea is because there are more coffee shops than convenience stores. There are more coffee shops than churches. There are more coffee shops than chicken restaurants now, which might seem a little strange and awkward to hear from people abroad. But if you've ever visited Korea, or if you live here, then you understand that the fact that there are more coffee shops than convenience stores, and literally the name is called convenience stores, so they are basically on every block, shows how many cafes are out there. And so trying to compete in this landscape, I think, is one thing that I kind of underestimated. And not that, I wasn't able to have a strong enough brand to overcome that. I think it was just the amount of work that I had to put into the things that I had to consider were very different from the stuff that I knew in the very beginning or didn't know at all. But I still had the goal of building something beautiful and global. And I think this ideal version of what I imagined my brand to be was too general and too, I guess, picturesque. And I also realized that I wasn't sure of the detailed versions, the detailed dreams that I had within me. Like, people all say, like, oh, I want to become someone who is helpful to the world. I want to do good things for the world. But honing down on why you want that and what paths you can take to achieve that is also very big. Yes, you may want to help people, but you yourself also have to be capable to then give yourself to others, whether it's materially or just, using your body in some sort of way. You still have to, for even if you use your body, you have to be fit, you have to have the energy, you have to have had a good night's sleep to use your body. If you want to give materialistically, then you also have to have enough money, for example. And so not all of these dreams are as simple as just doing it or just achieving it. And I think I kind of lacked the concrete details of that entire dream. My ambition was originally to create a place of community, peace, healing, and of course, delicious coffee. But in the process of me trying to do that for myself, I lost track. I got burnt out. And of course, I realized that in order for me to run something big, I also had to be big. And I wasn't that. And I am now realizing that I don't necessarily have to be big all the time to be big. It's a matter of who's around you, how can you look after people around you, and what's around you as well that will get you there. One other thing was the pressure, and I don't think I ever saw this place as what the world wanted from me. I don't think I ever tried to fit into society standards, but I do realize that it was the interest of adults around me, and especially coming from a Korean household and a Korean background, there were adults around me that inflicted a lot more expectations and their own beliefs of who I could be and who I wanted to be. And that still is kind of pressuring today, and trying to build away from that to actually discover who I really am, rather than this built up version of me from how my parents see me, how my teachers and mentors saw me, how friends saw me. I think was getting to a point where it was breaking me and I didn't know who I was anymore. And so now I am trying to rediscover that journey of trying to find who I am now. I think my shift now is away from performance to more experimentation and observation. And so that's why I want to go in now to the shift. I am moving away from Nadia Coffee House. I have someone who will take care of it for me, and I am now changing my role and position from cafe owner, aka Nadia Coffee House owner, to now a creative nomad, a coffee creator, someone who has more in their arsenal than just making a cafe. And so my vision is now changing from being rooted in one single place, but being more of a traveler and a nomad. I want to see how I can expand my wings in a more freer and softer and mobile environment, And I'm super grateful that my parents are supportive of this decision, along with my partner, as long as I have my own ideas in it. And I'm not giving up on this cafe. It's still going to exist. It's just that I am going to be a little bit more mobile. I'll be working at the new cafe while we discover new opportunities and new cafe experiences and beverage experiences as well. So I'm super excited to finally gravitate away from this one singular place and see how I can expand my own wings in different ways. And I hope that this new place will actually have more interactions with people. I can be a lot more freer in my expression as well. I have this image of me already going into the cafe where I don't want to be this perfect cafe owner, but someone who, can't really speak that well in Korean because she's American, and a little bit more clumsy and a little more light than the usual heavy Nadia that people see here and online. I'm learning that success does not have to necessarily be some kind of expansion or a growth, but it can also be a fallback. It's like a movement. It's silence. It's like this cup of coffee where even if it sits after a very long time, it'll still end up going into someone's mouth and tasting very good. So to summarize, this particular cup of coffee has been brewed with so much care. I've put a lot of effort into selecting the beans, selecting the roast, selecting the drip method that I'm going to create. And you put in so much care and effort into creating that one singular drink. At first you love it, it's delicious. But after time, your palate changes. People's palate changes. And that coffee that you once brewed so hard with such emphasis, with such dedication, is no longer tasty. And that's okay. So recently, a lot of people this week particularly have been asking me how I got to start coffee. At first, I thought that was a compliment, but then I realized that people are very confused as to certain people's paths. They have expectations of a particular person, their background, or maybe even their education or where they worked before. And sometimes they don't see the alignment of previous job A to current job B. And I've been taking that question or that curiosity, of course, gratefully because they're interested in my journey, but also as a moment to reflect on how we see other people in what they do. We have stereotypes and prejudices surrounding anything and everything, and it's hard to be able to destroy that and kind of only go off of data, kind of only go off of pure just curiosity rather than out of a place of judgment. And that's totally fine. And maybe this podcast is to learn how to sit with those moments. And going off of that, in the future, I am planning to bring in stories from audiences and also cafe, customers as well, and listen to people's stories, little moments in their lives, potentially some kind of concerns that they have that I can, run through and we can talk about together in the future and be a little mini healing area. So every week, I also want to introduce to you guys a phrase or a word in another language that we can talk about, whether it's in English or in other languages. And the word that I wanted to simply talk about today is the word 짜증나 in Korean. And it means be frustrated. I know it's not like a very happy-go-lucky word, but it's something that me and my friends talked about a lot when we were younger, about the two words 답답해 and 짜증나. These are very hard words to describe in English. It's like the words itself have a feeling of frustration. So that's kind of what it means. You feel stuffy, you feel frustrated. And the word 답답해 is more like there's something stuck inside you. It's very frustrating. But 짜증나 is like angry frustration. And so when something bad happens, you're very frustrated, you're very upset. You're 짜증나. The situation is 짜증나. It's frustrating. And so these two words that we use all the time when we're kids and even now are words that, yes, they're not positive, great, aspirational words, but in terms of expressing ourselves and being able to let out pent-up anger, I think in Korean we're able to have these different words to express our frustrations to those around us. And it kind of gets you to ask your friend or whatever, if they say they're 답답해 or 짜증나, what's making you feel that way. I still do feel like they're words that you shouldn't use very often. I think by saying that you're frustrated, that you're angry, that you're 답답해 or 짜증나 all the time, it kind of makes you into that kind of person. So whatever it is, like even if you say your back hurts all the time, yeah, our back hurts. Indeed, it does. But at the same time, saying that way too often will make you kind of depressed and fit that mood. But I do think that being able to express and vent out your anger at certain times is very important. So I hope that if you're feeling 답답해 or 짜증나 this week, today, whatever it is, you are able to have a moment with yourself to write down your feelings. Or if you have a partner or a friend that you can talk to about those feelings, I hope you can do that as well. Anyway, this is just the beginning. In a few weeks, I'll be sitting not on a sofa, but in a kotatsu, which I'm so excited about. I've always dreamed of having a kotatsu in my life, and finally I get one. It'll be at the new cafe. It'll be my mini kotatsu corner. And with that space, I hope to be bringing more softness, hopefulness, kindness, and playfulness into our podcast as well. But for now, I'm still here on this couch, and I'll see you guys next week with some more interesting stories and more interesting words, and of course coffee knowledge in the future as well. And I leave you with one last question. What is your Nadia Coffee House moment? The place where you started, the dreams that you had, and the feelings that you had to go through to realize that that may not actually have been your dream all along? Or what did it take for you to realize that your dream was a lot more complex than you initially thought?